Alright, this video is about a response to a fella stating that the Porsche 911 is the only sports car. I would never dare say that about my Corvette. Even if you put it in the American manufacturer's realm, meaning the Corvette is the only American sports car, and it's been described as such by some. I would never dare do that myself. That would be an absolute disrespect to Mustangs, for one, which certainly is a sports car, or the Camaros and the Firebirds and the Cudas and Challengers and every other American-made sports car that's been out. So, and then now if we go into that statement about the Porsche, well, what about all the Ferraris and Astons and Lamborghinis and all of the European brands and of course Mercedes, BMW, and Audi all make perfectly good sports cars. So what about those? I don't know. That's kind of a little bit pretentious if you ask me. I mean, Porsche is a storied brand. They've always managed to punch well above their weight because in the grand scheme of things, Porsche is actually a pretty small company. But their engineering department is extremely creative. They've managed to win a lot of racing, and they would make do with a super light, less powerful car and come out on top with reliability. They actually also created the 917 in the late 70s when Le Mans left a big gaping hole in the prototype racing class after they had pretty much ruled the Ford GT out of existence by killing its power output or reducing its available cubic inches to 5 liters, where they were running the 427, which is 7 liters. And it left a big opening for Porsche to step in. And they saw the opportunity in the rule book, and they created a 917 with a 12-cylinder. Up to that point, they'd only had a 6-cylinder. A 12-cylinder air-cooled engine. And that car dominated the Le Mans race for a couple of years, and then, of course, Le Mans figured out a way to outlaw this car. But that car migrated to America and competed in the Can-Am series and dominated there too over McLaren and Lolas with big block Chevys. So these guys could build some pretty awesome cars. Now they kind of shot themselves in the foot in the late 70s when they decided to convert their 911 lineup to rear-wheel drive front engine. So the 924 was born, the 928 was born, and it just wasn't received that well. I mean, the 928 was pretty much a Corvette Porsche. So unfortunately, that almost killed that company. Because they were going to eliminate the 911, and the purists were just up in arms. So they brought back the 911, and of course we know now that the 924 eventually became the 944 and the 968. They're all equal versions of the same car. But they went back to the 911. I mean, on paper, the 911 shouldn't work. And some of the earlier ones were dangerous cars to drive. They had some severe bad habits, I should say. By putting the engine behind the rear axle, hanging it out there. The flat 4 and the flat 6 have inherent advantages in the fact that they locate the weight of the engine down low, and of course, being opposed, generally the engine is lighter. It does have some negative effects that, because the engine's flat, oil would migrate into the combustion chambers or just plain leak out because they're not water cooled. Well, they weren't until 1999. They started water cooling 911s with the 996 Porsche. This is, I wanted a Porsche ever since I was a kid. I had a picture of a turbo Porsche in my wall because in the 70s, the American automotive performance landscape was dire. Everything had been choked down by catalytic converters, and the compression ratios were dropped to the floor, and a lot of those cars just didn't perform anymore. So Porsche only had like 275 horsepower or something, but that was big numbers. I mean, at that time, a 350 Chevy would make 150 horsepower. So when time came for me to buy my sports car, and that would have been 1999, early 2000s, and I started shopping for a Porsche. I could have bought a 993, the last of the air-cooled car, for as little as $25,000. But I decided to buy a service manual before I bought the car to see what's involved. I'm one of the crazy people. I buy a service manual and I read it. I usually skip over the transmission stuff a little bit. I'm not a transmission guy. But I started reading the 996 service manual, which I still own to this day. And everything was going well. The service manual wasn't all that complicated until I got to chapter 5 or 6. And that chapter was engine out service. I closed the book and I never looked back, and that's when I bought my first Corvette. So, is the Porsche the only sports car? Well, the Porsche 911 is a great sports car, no doubt about it. Is it the only sports car? It's kind of pretentious to think it is. So, no, it's not. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'm going to the store. Please subscribe, please like, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Thank you.